Hey folks, welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Today I'm going to put up a cucumber trellis. Now I do this video every year because we put up a cucumber trellis every year. Just this year I've been late on a lot of things in the garden, and my Armenian cucumbers are really out of control. I like the way they sprawl, and I've heard that they do well when they sprawl, but they grow straighter fruits when they are trellised. And so I've got some trellis netting. I'm going to hammer in some teeth stakes. I'm going to stretch that stuff between them because it's just not quite long enough. So I'll have to pull it, and that means it's not going to look real pretty. But once it's up, we'll put our cucumber vines, the ones we can find and loosen up. We'll trellis them up that with some clips and call it done. Here are my Armenian cucumbers. And you can see they're sprawling, and you can let these sprawl just fine, but you can also trellis them up. These are actually a melon. They're closely related to the muskmelon, but they taste like and look like cucumbers, sort of. They're long, and they're also called snake melons. But I'm going to trellis some of them up, and some of them I'm going to let sprawl, and I'm going to pull some weeds when I see them. And I've let them go a little long because, you know, sometimes you're just busy and life takes over. So yeah, I'm going to put up a couple of string trellises here and clip some of these up, and I'm going to let some of them sprawl. That is nasturtium in the middle, just in case you were wondering. But these guys have little yellow flowers like that. All right, I need 4 T-posts and 2 nets. I've put my T-posts in so that I can have my trellis transect the garden, and I'll have 2 of them, this one and this one. And I'm just gonna use a garden pole lashed across the top to hold my net up, and I'll weave my net through that pole. And but I'm just putting in my supports, my twine first, so I don't have to tie twice while trying to hold a pole up. I can just get these on there right now, have them ready to receive the pole if I can learn to tie a knot. So what I'll do now is we'll put the pole in here. I'll get Sam to help me. I'll tie this up. I'm just using this Vivo Sun trellis netting. It's just cheap nylon netting that I get on Amazon every year, and I don't bother to reuse it because once you pull it out, it's a real hassle to get all the stuff untangled, and it's cheap enough just to reuse it. So we'll straighten this stuff out and make sense of it. So untangling this stuff and trying to identify the short end is always the trick. I have the corner here. There we go. That'll be enough to go across the width of our garden. I'm just going to take one of these garden poles and weave it through the end. That'll do. Now I'm just going to guesstimate how much net I'm going to need. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you know, I might as well put my other one in since it's already spread out now. Go to where that pole is, hold this up, and lean it down toward me.
Ow! Cucumber plants!
So what I'm going to do now, starting at the top, I'm going to tie the net to the trellis, get it kind of taut as I go down. It pays to have 3 hands. I'm going to cut it off right about here because my vines will already reach up into here, so I don't need to bring it all the way down to the ground. Okay, so I got my trellis up and cut. It's not real pretty. Doesn't matter, it's going to be covered in vines. I like to use these little clips, specifically made for netting. And you can see they're plastic clips, and as you close them, you put one of the net strings through this little part right there, and it clamps down and it closes up and holds your vine in place. So I'm going to start working on getting some of these vines put up, make some sense out of some of this mess. Oh. Alright, so I'm going to trap this guy. Let's see, right over here. There we go. Support with another clip right here, right under this little node here. And these little tendrils will start to grab on and it'll support itself. But this gets some of these guys up off the ground. If you can make any sense out of what you got going on in your jungle. Here we go. Oops. Oh, I keep breaking off these growing tips. Oh, that's that. Last one right here. There we go. That'll do. So I'll let the rest sprawl. We're going to have some that climb, we're going to have some that sprawl. Alright, so there's what we've got. It's not the prettiest trellis, but once it gets covered with all those vines, you won't notice it anyway. So with these Armenian cucumbers, their growth habit dictates the shape of the fruit. If they sprawl along the ground, the fruit tends to curl up. If they're trellis, the fruit tends to be a little more straight, and therefore since most places in the world they just sprawl, they're also known as snake melons, snake cucumbers. They go by all different kind of names, but yeah, we got them up and they're starting to put on some fruit. They smell good, so there it is. Here you can see one of the fruits coming on. Tiny little guy. They get huge, but that's about what they're going to look like, just much larger. This also helps give access to pollinators. Those flowers being up high like that are more visible to bees. I just saw a bee in there a few seconds ago, so they're doing their job. We should be into some fruit. Potatoes right next to the cucumbers are looking like they're at the end of their life. Normally that's the sign you want to harvest your potatoes, and I've harvested some, repurposed that pot over there already. Not as many potatoes as I would have liked. These are a determinate variety, and I expected, you know, smaller quantities, but yeah, that's just not a lot of potatoes out of there. I'll have to weigh them and let you know. But yeah, these are about done. I'm going to let them get to where they're looking really sad before I harvest the other 3 buckets. So it doesn't matter what your trellis really looks like, because it's going to get covered by plants. These are my Lima beans, and if you saw my trellis video on these guys, that's about as basic found material trellis as you can make, and there they are. This is why we put the heavyweight bamboo at the top. Down here is just string. Those bamboo poles are supporting that mass of beans. So yeah, there we go. While I got you here, you see anything missing? Yeah, my onions began to bolt and look sad, so I harvested them, and I'm about to plant in this 4x4 plot a miniature blue sweet corn. That'll carry that little area right there through the summer. Hey, thanks for joining us on Black Gumbo Southern Gardenings. We really appreciate your subscription. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so, and like us on Facebook and Instagram. Talk to you next time. Happy gardening.